The chandelier lights shimmered like scattered stars above the elegant restaurant, but nothing glowed brighter than the resolve in Vanessa Clark's eyes. She arrived with her twin boys to celebrate a year of freedom, until she saw Ethan, the man who once broke her world. If you believe in compassion, hope, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories. Let's begin. Vanessa Clark stepped into the luxurious restaurant holding the hands of her twin boys, Logan and Miles. This day was supposed to mark her first full year of freedom, a quiet celebration of survival after leaving a marriage that had nearly crushed her. She had rebuilt her life piece by piece, risen from fear into stability, and turned her real estate skills into a thriving business. Everything about her now, her confident posture, her calm smile, her soft but steady voice, spoke of a woman who had fought hard to reclaim herself. But the moment she walked inside, her breath faltered. There, at a table near the window, sat Ethan Ward. Her ex-husband. The man whose gambling destroyed their finances, whose instability forced her to flee with the twins in her arms 3 years ago. Only now, he looked nothing like the bright architect she once knew. His shoulders were hunched, his hair untrimmed, his clothes loose as though he had lost far too much weight. A half-empty glass of water sat untouched beside him. His hand trembled against the table's edge. Vanessa steered her boys to their seats, lifting their coats, helping them settle, forcing her breath to remain steady. She told herself this was coincidence, nothing more. Yet her eyes kept drifting back to Ethan, drawn by a mixture of shock, sorrow, and something too complicated to name. She'd imagined him rebuilding his life somewhere far away. Instead, he looked like someone whose world had collapsed completely. Ethan tried to rise from his chair. His legs wobbled, his hand slipped, and his glass shattered loudly across the floor. Every head turned. Conversations paused. Vanessa didn't think, she moved. She reached him just as he stumbled, her hand steadying his arm. For a heartbeat, they stared at one another, and the years of pain between them flickered like a candle in wind. But she saw no anger in him, no defensiveness. Only shame, raw, overwhelming, and suffocating. She helped him back into his seat. The servers rushed to clean the mess while a few patrons murmured disapprovingly. Ethan bowed his head low, as if hoping the world might swallow him whole. When Vanessa sat beside him, he whispered, "I'm sorry." Not for the past, but for the man he had become. Words spilled out of him in broken pieces. He had lost his job months ago. Then his apartment. His health was failing because he had been skipping meals more often than eating them. He had come only because someone gave him a small voucher for a meal, but he was too embarrassed to order anything but water. "I never wanted you or the boys to see me like this," he whispered, his voice shaking. Vanessa listened, feeling an ache she hadn't expected. She didn't forgive him instantly, forgiveness wasn't a switch. But she saw him clearly now, stripped of pride and illusions, and she understood something important: this wasn't the man who had hurt her. This was a man losing a battle he didn't know how to fight. Vanessa returned to her table and knelt beside Logan and Miles. Their innocent faces tilted curiously toward her. She told them she wanted them to meet someone. Someone important. They followed her without hesitation. When they reached Ethan's table, the twins stared at the man who seemed both familiar and strange. Logan, the braver of the two, stepped close and gently touched Ethan's hand. Miles leaned in, peering up with quiet curiosity. The sight shattered Ethan. Tears streamed down his face before he could stop them. He covered his eyes, shoulders shaking, not out of guilt alone, but out of disbelief that his sons, whom he feared would hate him, stood before him offering pure acceptance. The twins didn't flinch. Children rarely judge with the cruelty adults do. They simply saw someone hurting. And children, in their honesty, reach for broken things instinctively. Vanessa watched it all, her heart heavy but strangely calm. She realized that helping Ethan didn't reopen wounds, it stitched them closed in ways she never thought possible. She invited him to join them for lunch. Ethan resisted at first, insisting he didn't want to ruin their celebration. But Logan tugged his sleeve, Miles grabbed his hand, and together they gently pulled him toward their table. For the first time in years, Ethan followed. Lunch unfolded quietly, almost tenderly. Ethan ate slowly, as though unsure he deserved the food. His hands shook less with each bite. Logan showed him the picture he drew on his coloring sheet. Miles told him about their school project involving cardboard castles. Ethan listened with such wonder, as if afraid blinking would make the boys disappear. Vanessa observed him with a mixture of sadness and clarity. She didn't want him back. She didn't want the life they once shared. She had built something stronger, steadier, and safer for herself and the twins. But she did want him to survive. She wanted the father of her children to have dignity again, to have hope again, to stand on his own without collapsing under regret. When the meal ended, the sunlight fell across their table in a soft, forgiving glow. Ethan looked up at Vanessa, and for a moment she saw the man he used to be, gentle, bright, full of quiet dreams. A version of him that life had swallowed long ago. She didn't promise reconciliation. She didn't tell him everything would be easy. She didn't erase the past. But as she gathered the boys' jackets and prepared to leave, she placed her hand briefly on Ethan's shoulder and said, "Take care of yourself. For them. And for you." Ethan nodded, tears in his eyes, gratitude breaking through the exhaustion. Outside, the twins ran ahead, laughing in the warm afternoon air. Vanessa watched them chase each other across the sidewalk, carefree, whole, loved. And she realized something profound as she turned back for one last glance at Ethan sitting quietly inside. Choosing kindness when bitterness is easier is not weakness, it is the truest form of strength she had ever known. Thanks for being here, like and subscribe to keep more unforgettable stories coming.